I'm sure you guys saw last week's video where I 3D printed this thing. This is a really cool gear cube that I was testing to see my design and kind of printing skills to see what I could come up with. Today, I am creating a Rubik's Cube better than a GAN. Now, let me clarify here. These things are really expensive and they turn really fast. We will reach nowhere near this with a 3D printer, but my overall goal is to design and create something that functions and works better than this when it gets mass produced. If you guys know me, I am a huge GAN hater. They're not bad cubes, but they just cost so much for what you get. So I'm gonna be trying to make a cube, again, more cost effective and better than a GAN. Let's go ahead and start with the design process. All right, so what I've got here is the finished first prototype of the new OV cube. It looks weird because I have all these like supports all over this just to make sure none of the material was sagging. Especially this looks really weird. This is the core and it's got all this support material around it. But I think I've gotten every single piece I need. I might be missing stuff. I plan on grabbing the screws. Maybe I'll use a core out of another cube, but I think this is everything. All right, pardon the mess, but it's literally like 20 minutes later. These things have been so freaking hard to get off of this. I don't know if it's because I let it sit while I was at work, but like it's leaving back all this residue. And I don't know what I did with the supports here, but the supports were stronger than the core itself. So I ended up snapping a piece off. So we'll probably just grab like maybe an RS3M core. I think that might fit. But I have no clue how I'm gonna get these off without breaking them, and I have no clue how I'm gonna get these off without breaking them. Stay tuned, I'll figure out a way. Okay, so at this point, I totally realized I didn't record anything else about the cube, so I'm voicing over one of my shorts I made about it that's not released yet, but you can see the 3D model I have on my computer. Pretty cool. Just thought I'd show you guys this. And then next I'm gonna put a short in where we can see kind of how the cube pieced together before we go on to version 2. All right, so here's the short where I have the cube halfway together. And what I realized halfway through this assembly process was that the pieces were way too big for the core and way too big for the screws. So I was thinking initially I'll need to grab some 4x4 screws to help hold this thing in. And then I realized maybe it's better off if I just start redesigning the cube, start from a blank slate, and then improve on all the little faults I had in the initial assembly process, which I think was probably the best route to go. So the next clip you're gonna see is me starting to make the model for the second version of the OV cube. First version, absolute fail, but we had some pieces come off the printer, not bad. It worked. Let's go ahead and skip ahead to the second version. All right, so I've taken some time and put some hours into the designing process. As you see here, this is our original makeup. It's got some pretty tight tolerances between all the pieces. And then again, that torpedo goes super, super deep into the cube. One big issue was that these edge pieces were like too crunched, so they needed to be like longer this way to reach deeper into the core, also meaning that these edge pieces needed to be deeper as well. So the pieces got completely redesigned. One thing I didn't add in the second iteration, which I'll show you in a second, was like grooves like this. I mean, when we do this, we're reducing the friction drastically, as to the point where, you know, the less rubbing, the longer your cube will last, you know, the better your cube will be. So I didn't add that in yet, but I plan on adding that in iteration 2. And with that being said, here is iteration 2. We have the new center pieces, new center caps that should fit a lot tighter, enough room for having like a spring in here. And then again, we're gonna design the core last, but this will do for now. And then the new pieces, let me set my view here really quick. All right, so the pieces look a lot different. So they're gonna extend deeper into the cube, closer to the core. Again, not touching the core, but deeper. And then the edge pieces, again, go a lot deeper to match that, which gives us room to fit in a lot thicker of a centerpiece, which gives us room to use shorter screws. Again, promoting controllability on this cube. And like I just said, I don't have the grooves etched in. I'm gonna print a copy of this just merely to see if it works. So we're gonna be doing that. Next time I see you guys, I'm gonna be on the drawing board with the new pieces printed out. But for me, it's gonna be like 6 hours. So we'll see you guys there. Boom, I lied. We haven't printed yet. I'm getting all the G-code ready. Everything was put on its plate for slicing. And you're probably wondering, what are these weird asparagus looking structures that are happening to the cube? This is the tree support material. Last time I went with normal support material, which made it super full, super hard to get off. But hopefully these trees I can just pop right off. It's not bad, but ready to go. So let's go ahead and print this thing. All right, so this is exciting. We're at 99% completion, and this says 8 hours and 26 minutes, so 8.5 hours straight. We have been printing this with 0 minutes remaining. So we are super close on this. I'm excited to take it off the printer. The reason this took so long is I printed in 0.01 millimeter, where it usually prints in 0.02. But I really wanted the accuracy, and look how clean these lines are, guys. Now this is obviously gonna take quite a bit of cleaning up, so I'm gonna take all these off with my trusty remover, and then we're gonna start chopping up all of the support material, and then finally we'll assemble the cube. All right, so we have a big pile of pieces and a large amount of work to do. We have tons and tons of base material, support material all over that. I need to use these and clip off just like we did on the first cube. Okay, I swear it's better than it looks. We have all of the support material off of all of the pieces, so we can finally get a look at how the pieces slot in together. As you can see, it has a lot more air gap between the pieces, which means less friction. And then, as I've been saying, and as I've said a million times, these torpedoes, everything goes super deep, interlocks very well with each other, so no popping, hopefully. I, on the other hand, got too lazy to pop all of the support material off of my core. And since it's pretty much the same thing, I'm just gonna reuse this core. And then take all this off. So the only things we should be reusing are the screws, springs, and core. This is the OV1, so we'll take this apart, grab what we need, and then keep going with it. All right, it's not bad. The pieces actually fit really well together. One thing I am kind of concerned about is seeing, again, if the screws are long enough, but we definitely do have a workaround if they are. But look at that. The edge piece slides perfectly in there. Let's go ahead and get this thing and keep assembling it. Look at that. Everything's in there fine. I might need to grab the 4x4 screws, but we'll get the rest of this assembled before we make that judgment call. All right, we have our first cube fully together, minus the cores and screws. And it's basically a Rubik's brand right now. And there's a couple reasons why. Number one, we have our pieces, they're all gritty from the 3D print and the texture you kind of get from that. Two, what I'm noticing is look how far these springs are compressed. So there's definitely an issue with these center pieces. They need more room for the spring. So version 3, I'm gonna have to make more room for the spring in there. I'm almost wondering right now if it's worth it to just take the springs out and try to run it without the springs and just see how it goes. But right now, I think that is our only option. So let's go ahead and do that quickly. Take the springs out and then I'll return. All right, so I took the springs out and I'm kind of disappointed in this thing. And it's partially because I don't have springs, which will cause me to redesign these center caps in the end. Does it turn? Yes. It does turn actually pretty good. And it does get better the more and more I do turn it, probably because it's like rubbing off all of the, excess plastic that is kind of that was kind of printed onto this thing. It's not bad. Like you can low-key finger trick it. I mean, we're definitely nowhere close to where we want to be, but this already is way better than the V1. I'm gonna keep playing around with this thing for a while off camera, but this is definitely gonna take some work. But I think just in this video, we went from not having a Speedcube at all to having a cube that we can have together that turns and that functions. Definitely gonna take a lot more work in the future episodes, but I appreciate you guys for watching this far. If you made it this far, comment 3D so I know you made it all the way to the end. Also, if you guys have any suggestions or comments on how I can make this thing better, also let me know. I'm definitely glad to hear them, and we can definitely see what we can do to make this cube even better. With that being said, we will see you in the next video. Peace.